We have some breaking news to start today's 3 stories, and it is this. As it turns out, you cannot trust a dictator. President Trump sharing the message on Truth Social this past weekend about Russian President Vladimir Putin. Quote, "I've always had a very good relationship with Vladimir Putin of Russia, but something has happened to him. He's gone absolutely crazy. He is killing a lot of people, and I'm not just talking about soldiers." The message goes on and on. But this is indicative of where the peace talks are right now between Russia and Ukraine, these talks that were supposedly being moderated by President Trump. Russia, for their part, does not seem to care. In fact, they launched the biggest missile strike in Ukraine since this war started. They say it was in response to Ukraine attacking them. Either way, things do not seem to be progressing, and President Trump is not happy, threatening sanctions against Russia. Now, remember here, there's a lot at stake. Russia does not want Ukraine to be part of NATO. They want to hold on to that land in Crimea that they took over years ago. And basically, they've refused to cede any ground, literally or metaphorically, to Ukraine. Now, before you start being like, oh, this means that President Trump might be more willing to work with Ukraine on this, not so fast. He also said about Zelensky this weekend, quote, "Everything out of his mouth causes problems. I don't like it, and it better stop." That's where we stand in these peace talks between Russia and Ukraine, moderated by Trump. We'll see what happens. Story number 2, a new punch thrown in the Trump v. Harvard fight. Today, the federal government sent a letter to Harvard saying, we are taking the rest of the federal funding that's going to the school. The General Services Administration, which manages groups who do work with federal government, sent a letter, and it said, in part, being a counterparty with federal government comes with the deep responsibility and commitment to abide by all federal laws, yada, yada, yada. It goes on to say that they have seen some troubling revelations that Harvard engages in discrimination. These are their accusations when it comes to hiring. They admit students based on identity and race and not on ability. And they also say you haven't done enough to address the anti-Semitism problem, which you've admitted exists on campus. Now, Harvard is already suing the administration to get back billions in federal funding that was already taken from it. And then remember we talked last week about the government's move to stop Harvard from enrolling international students. They sent that order over. Harvard was like, no way. They got a federal judge to side with them. So for now, Harvard can continue to enroll international students, but there's going to be a hearing on Thursday to determine what happens with that part of it. A lot of back and forth between the federal government and Harvard. And finally, story number 3, Lindsay Lohan is back. And it turns out she did not get a facelift, if this most recent interview is to be believed. Elle.com published an interview with Lindsay Lohan, who is making a comeback in several new movies. It was a very fawning interview. And toward the end of the interview, Lohan's publicist steps in and says something about Lindsay not having time to get a facelift. She showed up on the red carpet looking super, super snatched and beautiful, might I add. But her publicist pretty much shot the whole thing down. It was like, she never would have had time to do that because busy. But Lindsay did reveal that she is working on a skincare line, so maybe that will make our skin as beautiful as hers looks. That's it. 3 stories. Have a good one. Leave your thoughts and your comments below.